Alright, welcome back. It is 7 December, and welcome back to the JFK Assassination Audit. Of course, we want to remember on this date that it was the date the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, and the start of the American entry into World War II, of which JFK served on a PT boat in the Pacific, and I believe he was the lieutenant commander of the PT boat. And one night, while his PT boat was on patrol with some other PT boats, I guess they didn't see a huge destroyer coming at them. It chopped his PT boat in half, destroying the PT boat. It was a Japanese destroyer, and left JFK and several of his men alive, floating in the Pacific Ocean. Luckily, they were down in the Solomon Islands, and so they were able to swim to another island, and eventually they were rescued. But I believe that's where he got one of his back injuries, and yeah, I believe that's where he got one of his back injuries, and that was even made worse when he had a plane crash in the 1950s, I believe. Anyways, we're going to keep going down through this. We're right now been talking about evidence and how, you know, basically, even if Oswald had gone to trial, any half-assed lawyer could have got him, what do you call it, not convicted, because there's, number one, no evidence that Oswald was upstairs in that sniper's nest. There's all kinds of evidence saying he was on the second floor, on the first floor, by witness testimony. At the same time, people were seeing someone standing in that sniper's nest. Oswald was seen on the second floor and the first floor of the domino room. Also, there's absolutely no fingerprints of Oswald on the gun, on the bullets, on the scope, on the stock, on the paper bag that he supposedly brought the weapon into the schoolbook depository. Nothing, none. And even with the crappiest police forensic detective work, the FBI still would have found something, right? And again, if they found something, don't you think the Warren report would have reported it? They put in reports about his childhood and his pubic hairs and his dental records and psychological tests. Don't you think if the Warren Commission, the FBI, had found Oswald's fingerprints on the weapon, nitrates on his face and his skin, showing that he had fired that weapon, don't you think they would have mentioned it? They would have listed it, highlighted it. Just makes perfect sense. This is the key thing. I mean, take all the other stuff as everything else in the Warren Commission report and all the other stuff that's come out in the last 60 years is just all salad dressing. Okay? It's not part of the meat. The meat of the whole case is that Oswald, according to the Warren Commission, was in that window firing 3 shots at the president and killed the president. Okay? And they know this because Oswald's fingerprints were on the rifle. The rifle was found on the 6th floor. The bullets that match the ones that were not found in Kennedy, because there were never any bullets found in Kennedy. Okay? Only in Governor Conley, that fell out in perfect condition. Anyway, we're supposed to believe that Oswald did all this, but there's no fingerprints on his rifle, on the bullets, on the cartridge cases, on the telescopic scope, or the paper bag that he brought it all in. I mean, how far of this fantasy does the Warren Commission want to push this? I mean, this is essentially, to me, the reason he had to die, because they knew There was no way he didn't touch the weapon. He didn't fire the weapon from that window. There was no way they could prove that he was there and did the shooting. So you kill the person, and then you have a captured jury audience of the American public, and you feed them this line of bullshit called the Warren Report and say this is what happened. And then you tell the people who are doing the Warren Report, oh, if we don't, pin it down just to Oswald, we could start World War III, because we all know that he was a Cuban sympathizer and went to Russia, and he's a Marxist communist. And then if it came back that, maybe the Cubans or the Russians helped him, the American public would demand that we go to nuclear war and get half the population killed, because they killed the Russians or the Cubans killed one man, the president. Anyway, alright, so we're going to get into some more of this evidence here and see what I've come across here. Let's see, what do I have next here? That's the great thing about this stuff. I find these things and then, it's just amazing. There's so much evidence and stuff out there, you could spend a lifetime going over it. It's just impossible. Anyway, this is an interesting article. I don't see a date on this one, but it says, I believe it happened like in the 70s. Let's see. Is there a date? Yeah. Oh no. Dallas Morning News, November 6, 1969. Jesse Curry. Now, the readers will be able to weigh the facts. Now, just remember that this is after the Shaw trial, several months after the Shaw trial, and what, 6 years after Kennedy was killed. So this is Chief Curry. He was a former Dallas police chief, and he said Wednesday he's not sure to this day whether Lee Oswald was the assassin of the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. That's the head police investigator, the one you saw in pictures in the sniper's corner over by the finding the rifle, the one you saw in the press conferences, telling the people that, yeah, I'm pretty sure we got the guy that killed the president. Now he's saying, in 1969, I'm not going to express my opinion, Curry said at the press conference. I'm not sure about it. No one has ever been able to put him, Oswald, in the Texas School Book Depository with the rifle in his hand. Boom. There he is, right there. Exactly what I just said. That is the Warren Commission's case. And the head police investigator said no one's been able to put Oswald in the Texas School Book Depository 6th floor with the rifle in his hand. That's why the FBI had to take over the case. That's why the Warren Commission had to, basically be the prosecutor. And the FBI had to be the investigators, because if it was left to Jesse Curry and his Dallas policemen, as right-wing and anti-communist as they were, they all abide by the law and the Constitution and evidence. Crazy as that sounds. And here's the guy who would have headed that investigation if the FBI hadn't taken over all the investigation and everything was sent to them. See, if you control different parts of the investigation and then the prosecution, you can do what you want. Anyway, we'll keep going with this article. Curry, now chief of security for the Texas Bank, was police chief on November 22nd, 1963, when Kennedy was slain, and then Governor John Connally, seriously wounded by gunfire in the presidential motorcade, approached the triple underpass on Elm Street. He summoned the press conference to announce the release of a book he put together, which said to contain his personal file of the assassination. The book contains a wealth of photographs related to the tragedy, but puts forth little new significance as far as physical evidence is concerned. Curry's feelings during the period from when President Kennedy was shot till the time when Jack Ruby, in turn, shot Oswald 2 days later is perhaps the most revealing facet of the work. Curry complains, for example, that the federal and state law enforcement officers insisted on being present at Oswald's interrogation sessions after his apprehension. And then also you see that the FBI, if you listen to the head of the FBI, or the FBI guy that was investigating Oswald, was told by Hoover to stop cooperating with the Dallas Police Department, and then they left the Dallas Police Department. And then that's when the FBI took over. But it wasn't the FBI in Dallas, it was the FBI, the national headquarters in Washington. Curry complains, for example, the federal and state authorities officers insist, okay, wait a minute, let's see. Any experienced investigator would admit that the proper way to interrogate a prisoner is to be alone with the prisoner without distractions. Curry writes, because of the constant pressure from other investigative agencies, Dallas Police Homicide Captain Will Fritz was never allowed to carry out an openly or an orderly private interview with Lee Harvey Oswald. So they're intimidating the investigators and interfering from the very beginning. The Dallas Homicide Bureau was caught in political motivated crossfire from the press and other law enforcement agencies. The interrogation was a three-ring circus, Curry said. Oswald indignantly denied any knowledge of the assassination or the subsequent slayings of Officer J.D. Tippit. The former chief added, Oswald played the role of the indignant and belligerent prisoner who had no knowledge of anything. He had an arrogance, made it impossible to communicate even simple questions. I've always wondered whether or not Captain Fritz could obtain crucial information with Oswald if he had been allowed to spend 2 to 3 hours alone with him under normal interrogative conditions. But you see there, again, if you just shot the President of the United States, you're gonna, I'm not talking, I want to see a lawyer, and that's it. Or if you're this, you shot the President and you're this radical revolutionary, Oswald would be banging his fists on the table. Yeah, I shot that son of a bitch. He tried to kill Castro, and we turned it around and I shot him first before he was able to kill Castro. Viva Fidel. You don't see anything like that. Okay? Oswald's not this radical, communist Marxist that they make him out to be. Because he would have announced right there in front of the media, in front of the police, why I shot him and I'm proud of it and da-da-da-da-da. But he insists, he's combative, arrogant, insistent that he didn't shoot the President. Crazy. Curry told reporters he is not trying to present a new theory about the assassination, nor is he attempting to support or validate the findings of the Warren Commission, which concluded that Oswald was the lone killer of both Kennedy and Tippit. I'm trying to present the reader with all available parts of the assassination puzzle as they would be presented to a jury had it come to trial. There you go, exactly what I just said, Curry said. The readers will be able to weigh these facts and form their own conclusions. Curry told reporters he takes Connolly's word for it that he, the governor, was hit by a different bullet than the one possibly pierced the President's throat. See, so even Curry doesn't believe the magic bullet theory. One of the Commission's conclusions is that the one bullet hit both men, another hit neither, and a third struck Kennedy in the head, killing him. Curry, who led the motorcade to Parkland Hospital after the shooting, poignantly writes of Mrs. Kennedy's actions while waiting for attendants to remove the President to the hospital. She sat immobilized, unable to move. She just sat there holding the President's head in her lap, somehow hoping to heal it, like a little girl holds a doll. Little sounds like restrained whispers were her only reaction at first. She was in shock. Just like she climbed up out of that seat when she saw she's sitting there holding her husband and the back of his head gets blown out onto the trunk. She climbs up onto the trunk of that car and climbs out onto that trunk to grab his skull in hopes that she can put it back into his head and save his life and put everything back together again. If the shot had come from behind him, it would have splattered his brains all inside the inside of the car onto Governor Conley. Just like that other bullet supposedly hit Conley. Okay? But no, she climbs up on the back trunk of the car because that's where his skull cap got blasted backwards out of the back of his head, that she was sitting there looking right at him. And she saw it. And it came from the upper left hand from the picket fence area, and that's why it blew backward onto the trunk. She was in total shock. Anyway, looking back on Ruby's slaying of Oswald at the police station basement November 4, that would have been, well, that, I don't know if it's reflecting on November 4 or it should have been November 24th, I'm not sure. Curry said Wednesday he should not have let the throng of newsmen congregate there, as Ruby apparently slipped in during the confusion. Now, originally, Curry wanted to take Oswald out at 2 in the morning in the back of a car with a blanket over his head and sneak him to the jail. But word came down from Washington that they wanted the media to be able to film Oswald to show that he wasn't being mistreated. And supposedly the influences from the Kennedy family and from the Attorney General. That's what people have said. Anyway, there have been rumors that officers were beating Oswald up. He told reporters, "We decided to show the world that we were not. If I had thrown the press out," Curry said, "I would have been crucified. As it was, I would got crucified anyway." Anyway, this is the article. But the most important thing in this article, which I always learned, I took a couple of journalism classes, and you always put the most important information in the very top 2 paragraphs. Former Dallas Chief Jesse Curry said Wednesday he's not sure to this day whether Lee Harvey Oswald was the assassin of the President John F. Kennedy. "I'm not going to express my opinion," Curry said at the press conference, but he just did. "I'm not sure about it. No one has been able to put him, Oswald, in the Texas School Book Depository with a rifle in his hand." And he should add, shooting at the president. So, it's pretty clear the chief investigator of Dallas wasn't sure that even Oswald was there, because he knows the reports of the people who saw Oswald in the lunchroom on the 2nd floor, also saw Oswald on the 1st floor in the domino room. So, and there's no fingerprints of Oswald. He knows that they did nitrate tests on Oswald's face and there was nothing. So, in his mind, and he's been through a lot of trials and investigations, and they know that if you have a gun in your hand or a rifle and you put it up to your cheek to fire it, you're going to get nitrate on your face, you're going to get nitrate on your hands, and you're going to have your fingerprints on the weapon. And when they couldn't find any of that, no fingerprints, no nitrate, Chief Curry is pretty clear that, well, he may have done it, but I don't know how he did it. You know, there's no evidence showing that he had that rifle in his hand shooting the president from the 6th floor. We don't have the evidence to prove it. See, that's a man who's trying to get along to go along, but he knows something ain't kosher. It's all in the language right there. That's Curry telling you Oswald didn't do it. That's the chief investigator from Dallas. That tells you Curry also wasn't involved in the assassination. There were, like I said, there were individual right-wing conservative Confederates at every level, from the FBI, the Secret Service, the military, the mafia, the oil barons, the Cubans, the mercenaries. On down the line, there were people of like mind that all got together, not all in one big room, but at different levels, and had different parts to play. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning, you know, an organization is consisted of different levels and departments. Not everybody knows what's going on in these different departments, okay? Think about wherever you're working at. Like, I worked at a call center, okay? I only knew about our section and our team, very little about what was going on. I had no idea what my boss was doing. I'd see him every once in a while, but I didn't know everything that he was involved in. I wasn't sitting in on meetings between him and the owners, or him and other team members, or him and other managers, okay? Just like I didn't know what was going on over in the QA department, or the accounting department, or the collections department, or the technical department. You know, I'd see him in the break room, I'd see him other places, but I didn't know the inside. So literally, and if you think about it, you really don't know what's going on at your organization or whatever. It's the same thing in the military or any other organization. You know, you can find like Confederates that, you know, you discuss things with around the water cooler, but not everybody has to be involved in the conspiracy is what I'm saying, okay? You could have people in the military, like-minded, right-wing, conservative people in the military that are maybe of higher positions that are using the military to carry out certain functions to assist in the assassination. You can have right-wing conservative people inside the CIA using the mechanisms and the CIA organization to carry out certain things to facilitate the assassination. Same thing in the Dallas Police Department. You know, I think I read yesterday or whatever it was that, yeah, that the guy who was holding down Jack Ruby knew him after he shot Oswald. He knew him. And when they're driving to Parkland with Oswald, or following Oswald, Chief Curry didn't know Ruby, okay? But the other policemen did. They'd had run-ins with Ruby, or, you know, went with his club or stuff like that. Ruby was always trying to get officers to come to his club. And so the guy's saying that, Chief Curry's saying, "Who's Ruby? Who's Ruby? Who's Ruby?" And they're telling him who Ruby is, you know, because Ruby's sitting there going, "Hey, I'm Jack Ruby. You all know me." Okay? So at different levels, different people knew different people and or associated with different groups, and not everybody knew everything. Okay? And same thing with the FBI. You know, you gotta figure. And same thing with the CIA. I've read memos of people in the CIA overseas that are reporting back about Oswald in Mexico City and in Moscow, and they're all scrambling to try to figure out who the fuck this guy is. Okay? Well, you can be one agent in counterintelligence in the CIA or in deep cover projects that are on it, not even on the books, that no one knows about, okay? No one even knows exists, and you don't even, you know, other people maybe sitting beside you don't even know those projects exist, okay? And Oswald could be part of that, and Oswald may not even know he's working for the CIA. He may think he's working for the Justice Department or the FBI or Naval Intelligence. That's what I believe. When he went to when he went to Russia, I think he was working for naval intelligence. All the signs are there. He got out early. He got his passport in like 2 days. Who gets their passport in 2 days? Okay? You know, all of a sudden, you know, a guy who's making $120 a month in the Marines has got a couple of $1,000 to go on a cruise ship to Europe, staying in a nice hotel in Finland. You know? So, maybe even Oswald didn't even know who he was working for. And then when he gets back, you know, the FBI, Quigley, and all these other FBI agents in the local office don't know who he is, but in the national office, or even the Department of Justice, he's working as a paid agent. But that's why you see this investigation in New Orleans of Oswald, after he makes it onto the news media and the radio for having this fight and getting arrested in the streets of New Orleans. All of a sudden, boom, the office of the FBI in New Orleans, the local office, is active. They're going around trying to figure out who the fuck this guy is. Okay? They're investigating him. They're interviewing his co-workers at the coffee company. They interviewed him in jail. And they don't know who he is. Okay? They don't know he's got a 201 file. Because another department in the FBI is using him as an informant. Okay? And just like Jesse Curry didn't know who Ruby was, didn't know who Oswald was. Okay? Because, and just like Ruby got down the ramp, somebody in the Dallas Police Department led him in down the ramp. They didn't know he was going to kill, you know. I'm sure that officer didn't know that Ruby was going to kill Oswald, you know. But they had to kill Oswald. Because if he'd gone to trial, boom, again, Chief Curry just says it right there, as clear as can be. I'm not sure about it. No one has ever been able to put him, Oswald, in the Texas School Book Depository, the 6th floor, with the rifle in his hand, shooting the president. Okay? And that's essentially the Warren Commission case. They have to put Oswald in that 6th floor with a rifle in his hand, shooting and firing at the president, and it hitting the president and killing him. And it's impossible to do because there's no fingerprints, there's no nitrate on his cheek. That's why you have this doubt coming up in Curry's mind. You know, okay, well, the Warren Commission said he killed him, but I don't see how. Okay, I wasn't privy to all this other evidence that they had, but what I saw, I don't see how he did it. And this is why they had to take the case out of Curry's hand and then kill Oswald and put it in the Warren Commission's hand, because you don't need proper investigative techniques, which is what Curry would have done. Okay? Anyway, enough of that. We're going to keep moving on here and talk about proper investigative techniques. Now, this is a good little video. It's got some good pictures here. It says, from the 6th floor window, Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney yelled down to the street for them to send the crime lab. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But the assassination, the thing that always gets me is the assassination happened at 12:30. Patrolman Baker confronted Oswald at 12:31, 12:32 at the latest. But it took, you know, you just read the testimony like, what, a day or so ago. The crime lab got the call at 1:10. So what happened from 12:33 to 1:10? You got 27 plus 10. You got 37 minutes there. It takes them 37 minutes. Everybody's looking up at the 6th floor. They already sent out a description of Oswald at 12:45. Be on the lookout for a white male, approximately 130 pounds, you know, brown hair, brown shirt. They've already got the description out, but they don't even know to send the crime lab yet. No one's up in the 6th floor yet until Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney shows up there approximately a little bit after 1 o'clock. The crime lab gets the call at 1:10. They're there by 1:15 or so. There he is. There's Mooney. But he's not even in the sniper's nest because this window is not the sniper's nest. The sniper's nest is over here. So this set of windows is where the chicken bones, the lunch sack, and the Dr. Pepper bottle were found. That the crime lab was en route. A moment later, a fire truck came up and several firemen went into the building. So you got people that are not qualified investigators inside the building trampling up the evidence there. Doesn't make any sense. What the proper thing to do is to get patrolmen to block the exits, grab anybody coming out, hold them, get their name, get their ID, fingerprint them, and keep them in one section of the building downstairs, and then find out who's missing, find out who shouldn't be there, who are employees and who aren't, while another group is going up to the 6th floor to secure the crime scene. There's the 6th floor window. There's one of the shells. A wall of boxes with an L shape, and that's not exactly true because, see, even though there's boxes here, there's also another wall right here, okay? And then if you look around, they took pictures inside, there's just walls and stacks of boxes everywhere. So it's not like it was a hidden sniper's nest. You see, because there's an individual right there, and that's not really blocking people that are standing over here from seeing anyone standing over there and firing. Besides, they're going to hear the goddamn rifle going off. What's the point of building that wall? And there they all are, standing inside, trampling on the evidence. These guys with the white hats are the homicide division. Chief investigators of the homicide division. 3 spent rifle holes were found under the window in the southeast corner of the 6th floor. They were shell casings or holes of a 6.5 millimeter caliber. One thing I've also heard is that this 6.5 millimeter Carcano ammunition was almost non-existent in all of Texas. So how did Oswald get these shells? Did he order it through the mail? You know, if he did, where's the receipts from the post office? Where's the order from the Order Ammunition Company? How did he get 6.5 millimeter Carcano ammunition? And again, this bullet here, or this cartridge, would have had Oswald's thumb print right there, because he would have had to push down right in the center, which would have been about right there, on top of the shell casing, to push it into the metal clip to hold the bullets. And they didn't find anything. photographs of the shell casings is staged and not correct. Several officers saw Dallas Police Captain Will Fritz pick up the shell casings and toss them back on the floor. That's tampering with evidence, damaging evidence right there. There they are again, 1, 2, 3. A, B, and C. But again, is that the original position of the shells, or is that where Will Fritz threw them? We'll never know. It says, when the weapon allegedly was found on the 6th floor, one cartridge remained, and it was in the chamber. Therefore, if operating properly, the rifle had automatically ejected the clip. The commission reported, however, that when found, it contained a clip. So what he's saying is, you're pulling back that bolt, and the bullets, you're loading the bullets, they're firing, you're pulling back the bolt, it's ejecting the rounds, okay? When it gets to the last round, that it's going to, basically, you pull that back, the last round you're going to put in there. Now, see, now I think about it, that makes sense, the clip would still be there. And then when you eject that one, the clip should have come flying out. But we'll see here that Fritz, or Curry, ejects the bolt, but a clip doesn't pop out. So where's the clip? Again, there you go. There's the cartridges. Here's the bullet. Okay. And there's a little dent in there. But very interesting. In a report from Lieutenant Day regarding turning over of evidence to the FBI, it accounts for 2 found hulls and 1 live round found on the 6th floor, not 3 empty hulls. Now we just read that, and there was a reason that he gave one of the hulls or cartridges to another officer, and he put 2 rounds plus a live round in an envelope. Yeah, there it is right there. 1 live round, 2 empty shells. That's the report he's filling out. FBI's own notes. Evidence received from Special Agent Vincent E. Drain of the Dallas office of the FBI on 11/23. And see, there's Captain Fritz right there. 6.5 Mannlicher Carcano cartridge case from building. 6.5 Mannlicher Carcano cartridge case from building. 6.5 Mannlicher Carcano cartridge from rifle. And there, that's the envelope they gave the FBI. You see, there's 1 live round and 2 empty holes there. At approximately 1:22, Deputy Sheriff Eugene Boone discovered a rifle concealed behind the boxes of the 6th floor. Detective Seymour Weitzman was nearby and also noticed the weapon. Both described the rifle they found as a 7.65 millimeter Mauser bolt-action rifle. See, this is why I'm pretty sure that, like I was saying in another video, that a lot of these guys are veterans, okay, of World War II, and they dealt with mostly Mausers, facing up against the Germans, because that would have been the the weapon of choice of the enemy. You know, the Italians only fought from like North Africa and Sicily from December when we invaded North Africa, November 1942, to when the Italians surrendered about August 1943. Then the Germans took over. Now there were some Italians who joined Mussolini later, but they were all issued mostly German, weapons and stuff. So the majority of weapons that these policemen would have seen in Europe would have been Mauser rifles. But here's the thing, you got to figure though, so they made a mistake basically. It looked like a Mauser, but it was an Italian Mannlicher Carcano. And the reason why is because the Italians really didn't have a rifle, or not many rifles of their own, so they copied a German Mauser. Okay? But the thing you got to wonder though, if they know it's a 7.65 millimeter Mauser, and they pop out a round that's a 7.5 millimeter round of some weapon, they know that it can't be a 7.65 Mauser. But that's the initial report. And again, you're not always correct in your initial assumption on something. You go with what you know, and then later on you look it up and verify it and things like that. So that's what they were reporting, and it was a mistake. I don't think there were two rifles found. But it is interesting though that even Oswald and Roy Truly mentioned that Roy Truly earlier in the week had brought to the Texas School Book Depository a 7.65 millimeter Mauser bolt action rifle that he was going to use for hunting, and he was showing people the rifle. And Oswald even mentions to the police, because the police mentioned it, that he said that the only rifle he ever saw was this one brought by Truly, which was a 7.65 millimeter Mauser. Yeah, see, there's the rifle. They're holding it by the strap there. Yeah. You think, they'd have a handkerchief or a cloth or something they can grab the bolt with, but they grab it with their hand. A short time later, they were joined by Lieutenant J.C. Day in his capacity as crime scene investigator. See, the forensics guy doesn't even show up until right when the rifle is discovered. It says they were discussing it back and forth. Captain Fritz said it looked like a 7.65 Mauser. Again, it goes back to their experience during World War II. That's the weapon of choice of the Germans. It's like seeing, M16s nowadays. And I'll give an example that, there's M16s and there's AR-15s, and then there's, what do they call those? Anyway, there's other rifles that look like M16s. There's even a Korean version of the M16, but it's not an M16. Okay? So, if you saw the Korean version of the M16, it's an M16, but it's really a different rifle. And you just go with what you think, and then you verify it later. Deputy Sheriff Boone's report, the rifle appeared to be a 7.65 Mauser with a telescopic scope, and it appears to be. And then he says the rifle was a 7.65 bolt action equipped with a scope. On November 23rd, 1963, Dallas District Attorney Henry Wade gave a televised press conference at which he advised the media that the weapon found in the Texas School Book Depository was a Mauser 7.65 millimeter action rifle. Now, again, you got to remember Henry Wade wasn't there. He didn't see it. All he's going by is he's either reading reports or he's being told. Okay, most likely being told. And that's all they know for right now, because Mandolictor Carcanos are not as widespread. So once they start researching it, then that's when they find out what the rifle is. And there it is. There's the rifle. November 25th. See, that would have been Monday. Still describing the rifle as a Mauser, 7.65. So what? Everybody got it wrong. Later, the police said it was a Mandolictor Carcano. Lieutenant John Carl Day played a pivotal role in the handling and processing of the rifle. He should have known how to handle and record the evidence in order to preserve the chain of possession. And I'm not saying it's any excuse, but you got to understand it's 1963. Now we're looking back in the lens of, CSI and professional FBI crime labs and 2022. Okay? And you got to remember that forensic science was just in its infancy in 1963. Maybe it had been around, maybe the FBI crime lab was been around since maybe the 30s, if that. And the FBI didn't even come around until the 1920s or so. So forensics was just in its infancy. So a lot of things that they did, you learn by experience. You accidentally destroy evidence by not handling it correctly, and then you write procedures on how to handle those things. And you read books and study in college on how not to handle things. And a lot of these people didn't go to college, didn't go to some forensics trade school. They learned on the job. Okay, and then also we're talking about a city in the South. Okay, we're not talking about New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. So, not that it's any excuse, but you can kind of see how they didn't do everything exactly the way a police department would do things in 2022 in New York City. Okay? Yeah, there's the rifle. See, he's holding it by the strap, at least, thank God. At least they knew not to do that, or knew to do that. See, that's one thing I can't understand, is that if the clip was designed to hold 6 bullets, why wouldn't Oswald put 6 bullets in there and just put 4? That's what I've been able to figure out. Okay, and how could you put that clip down in there? Because it's spring loaded. Okay, so you would damage your thumb pushing it down in there, because the clip would pop up and cut your finger. Here, I'll show you. Hold on one second. Alright, so I just found this. I haven't even watched this yet, so let's see. Let's see if how they load this clip, and then we can go from there. Okay? Because I'm just going by common sense on how to load the clip. This guy's going to show us exactly how it's done.
Okay, I was asked a question today. How do you load a Carcano magazine, clip, whatever you want to call it? Don't want to get in an argument about it, but the thing that holds the ammo and you shove down in the gun. Okay, how's that sound? Alright, this is a Mandolictor designed clip for the rifles. It started with the 1888, and in different variations it's been used. The earlier Austrian ones only went one way, and I'll cover that also here. But for the Gewehr 88, the Italian Carcanos, the Dutch rifles. Now the Dutch clip's a little different. It's curved because it has rimmed cartridges. These are either rimless or semi-rimmed. I can't remember what Carcano is, but the question is, how do you load it? Now if you look at the thing, and if you look, it's stamped sheet metal, and there's a groove pressed in here and here. And what that translates into is there's a little lip inside there. So how this works is this, you have to remember, this is not a box magazine like a pistol or an AR-15 where you push down, or like a stripper clip which is used to load Mausers or whatever, you know, where the cartridges are pushed downwards. And this is not how this works. How this works is you take your cartridge and you line it up here in the lips up top and you push backwards. Now, like I said, where that groove is, there's a rim in there. So what you have to do is push back until you hear a click.
There you go. See, now it's a learning process. See, and I would have thought that you would have held the clip on the side and pushed down the round. But see, look at his fingers. Did you see that? And then he was grabbing, let's see, we'll go back here. Oswald would be having his fingers. Now, this is even more interesting because it requires even more thumbs and fingers. And you're going to get your fingerprints all over the clip and over the bullet. You see right there? Over the bullet casing. So, where are Oswald's fingerprints on all of those? Unless he's wearing gloves. You know? We'll keep going here. See, I had it wrong. I was thinking that, see, there was an M1 rifle that I was thinking about that had a clip, and then you would push, you know, push down these rounds with the spring at the bottom. The spring would push them up, and you push down with your thumb right there to push it down. But see, I'm wrong, and I'm willing to admit I'm wrong, because see, this is why you do good research. Is you want to see how things really work, not how you imagine them, even common sense. You want to see how something really works, and that's what it is right there. So I'm wrong. You're not pushing down with your thumb. You're pushing in with your fingers. And look, he's got a thumb, he's got a finger, and he's got fingers here. There's going to be fingerprints all over this ammunition in the clip. So let's keep going.
You hear a click.
See that?
That means you've gone past that groove. See, and then when you go in here, it secures the cartridge and it runs down the length of this clip. And what that's doing is that's snapping into your extractor groove. And another thing, the Carcanos are the only ones that hold 6 rounds. So you just put them in like this, and then again.
See, his fingers are all over
towards the top. Push forward.
You see how his finger is having to hold on to these bullet casings right here? So he's going to have fingerprints on the casing here, fingerprints on the casing there, and on the clip. That would be, those bullets and casings and clip would be covered in finger and thumbprints.
Till you hear the click. You have to excuse my hand, and I have a cold. I'm kind of doing this.
Look at that.
Click.
Fantastic.
There. And
6 rounds.
6 rounds loaded. This can go into the gun either way, and they're secured in there. Basically, how you load it is how it's fed. The bolt comes, pushes it straight forward, and these lips hold it all together. Because you have to remember, there's a big spring and an arm that's pushing up on this, and that's what feeds it up. So these lips up here, that's why you can't push it straight down. It feeds, just like it feeds out, straight forward. And that's how you load it. That's how you load this clip. Now we'll take a look at the earlier, for the 95 straight pulls. The other common one you'll find is there's a lot of the 95 style straight pull rifles, and this one's different. This is the older original design. If you look at it, there's this grooves up top.
Alright, so that's good. I like that. So let's find out how you load the Carcano and how you shoot it. Or maybe this is one right here. Let's see what this is. Yeah, 6.5 Manlictor Carcano. Bolt disassembly. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Hold on a second.
Today we've got an interesting rifle for you down here. It's the Italian. It is a 6.5 caliber rifle, and today,
so that is not exactly the same rifle, but I'm sure some of the things are going to be the same. Let's see how he loads it, and let's see how he fires it, and see if that clip pops out. Hold on.
See in our range down there, we're going to hunt some pumpkins, and so I have brought some interesting wear for myself. Hand to pants. In process, you do have what we call in America the in-block clip. It holds 6.
You see, it's almost the same. You see how the rifle is similar, but not exactly the same. See, the Oswald rifle would have gone up a little further, and yeah, but some of it's the same. Some of it looks very similar. See, there's that little thing with the 2 screws on the side. Well, let's see how he loads it here.
Rounds right there, and we've got some hollow point ammunition that we've loaded up specially for this rifle today. The inventor, by the way, is called Manlictor.
You see how he has to hold that clip? Oswald's fingerprints would have been on that clip.
Well, I say Manlictor. I know you guys have made fun of me for that pronunciation. It's something like Manlictor or Manlictor. I don't know. Not an English equivalent. So Austrian is hard for us to pronounce. Go figure. So you're going to take the whole clip, put it on top of the rifle, and push in all the way until it clicks.
Boom. Did you see that? Let's do it again. He did it really fast.
So you're going to take the whole clip, put it on top of the rifle, and put...
You see that thumb? That thumb's on top of the shell casing. And let's watch it. Matter of fact, let's watch it slow. Hold on a second. At 1/4 speed, we're going to watch him.
Push in.
See that?
All the way until...
Also, you're going to have to be gripping over here. Okay, because... See your fingers? You're going to have your fingerprints on the side of the rifle.
It clicks and stops there if you see it fly.
And I don't know about you, but when I was in the military, we had a tap button that would, you tap right here, and there was a routine we did. You know, you smack the magazine, you tap the forward assist, and that would push the bolt forward and lock it in there, and push the, you know, and then you would snap the bolt forward to load a round.
You've got a problem, obviously. And like any standard bolt section, you're going to push forward, feed the first round, and close the bolt.
And you just
grab
let's
see
a
what
hold
we
of
can
that
do
bolt.
at long range here. We're going to sit.
And Oswald's going to have fingerprints on that bolt. Okay, let's see how he fires it.
Down and shoot a couple. Alright. Now, this doesn't have a particularly long barrel, so hopefully I'll get lucky and I can hit a few things today. Okay, for our first shot, we're going to shoot at the first zombie pumpkin on the top left here. See if we can hit him. We've proven, if you can see in the little inlet here, that we can actually hit him. He's got a couple of marks on him. But I guess we haven't hit his brain, so he's not done yet. Here we go. We got one.
Wow.
Let's try to hit his brother down there on the right side, top right. Got him.
Bam.
Maybe we'll hit Little Pumpkin in the middle. Hopefully. See what we can do here.
And there you go. So you've got Kennedy on the left, Conley on the right. Kennedy's back, Conley's back. Did he say the range? Hold on. Let's back up a little bit. I'm going to replay this and see if he replays the range. Or says the range.
Alright. Now, this doesn't have a particularly long barrel, so hopefully I'll get lucky and I can hit a few things today. Okay, for our first shot, we're going to shoot at the first zombie pumpkin on the top left here. See if we can hit.
Alright, let's see if we can go forward. Alright, looks like he's doing something with the bolt here.
Got him. The Carcano is not an amazingly accurate rifle. It's kind of short, so you don't have a very long sight radius. But it does work. Does work. Let's get his brother up there on the right there. Okay, when you get down to the last round, the clip is supposed to fall out there, but it's an old rifle. It's been around for many, many years, and so this one hasn't quite fallen out.
So maybe that would explain what happened when Captain Fritz popped that last round. This clip, see, like in the M1, it would bing, pop that out. See, that's what I'm going by, is an M1, that clip. You push that clip down in there, and then you got to the last round, boom, it'll bing. You hear that sound as the clip pops out there. This one, the hole pops out here, and the clip drops down that way. Interesting. Alright, let's see what else we got here. I think he disassembles this rifle. Yeah, let's see what he does here.
This pretty much covers all Carcanos and gives you a general overview of all of them. First thing you got to do, of course, is remove the bolt from the rifle. So you have to kind of pull it back like you were chambering around. And then you pull the trigger right here, and it releases the bolt from the rifle. Okay? So there's the bolt as it comes out of the rifle.
Hold on a second.
All right,
let's go back.
Bring around, and then you pull the trigger right here, and it releases the bolt from the rifle. Okay? So there's the bolt as it comes out of the rifle. Alright, now, as to bolt disassembly, this is pretty easy. A lot of people find it kind of mysterious, but it's actually not as hard as it would look based on the sort of awkward functioning of this bolt. You do have, of course, your safety right here, which you would turn up in the case it was in the rifle. It kind of blocks your sights from being able to see it, so you know it's on. Piece right here.
Okay,
so he's screwed on the top.
He's disassembling
you sort of press this little plunger over here on the left side.
Let's see with
down,
the stock here.
And screw to the left. And that removes the far end of the bolt. This is basically the cocking piece.
I'm going to see if I can find another one of them firing a Carcano that's close to what Oswald had. Let's take a look. What is this one?
Hey guys, what is going on? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. And today we're going to do a little cleaning, a little field strip and disassembly and cleaning of the 6.5 Carcano rifle. You're seeing these carbines popping up now on a lot of places like ClassicFarms.com and so on. And they're selling for about $249. A lot of people are picking these up cheap. And the good news is that they're fairly easy to take apart and clean. In fact, they use some design features from...
Now here's one I found from 1967, so let's take a look here. This one was done in 1967, and you got to remember this is the time that the Garrison case in New Orleans against Shaw came up. So they do this test, you know, to once again show to the world that, you know, the Warren Commission was correct and everything is hunky-dory, and, you know, you got Walter Cronkite telling you, so it all must be, you know, he's the most honest man in the world, so it must all be true, right? So let's see how they do this and what they say.
Own test with the Mannlicher Carcano.
A moving target is harder to hit than a stationary one, and the elevation of the sixth floor window might make a difference. The only elevation for the Warren Commission's firing tests was a 30-foot tower, less than half the height of the book depository's sixth floor above Elm Street. So CBS News had a tower and target track constructed to match exactly the heights and distances in Dealey Plaza. The target track was angled to match precisely the angle of Elm Street. The target, a standard FBI silhouette, moved by electric motor at 11 miles an hour. approximately the speed of the presidential limousine. A rifle of the same make and age as Oswald's was fitted with the same 4-power telescopic sight found on his rifle. 11 volunteer marksmen took turns, firing clips of 3 bullets each at the moving target. None of the men had much familiarity with the Italian Manica Carcano, although each was given time to practice at a nearby indoor range, and most of the volunteers were experienced with bolt-action rifles. In each case, the first shot was fired at a point approximating the point at which the Warren Commission deduced the first shot was fired. Distance, about 175 feet. In 6 seconds, the distance grows to 270 feet. Results varied. A Maryland state trooper made 2 hits in silhouette. 1 near miss in slightly less than 5 seconds. Another state trooper's best time was 5.4 seconds.
Now, do you see that? They fire, pull the bolt, you knock the bolt up and back, it ejects the round, and then you push it forward and down, okay, and loads another round there. And every time, I don't know if you saw that, if you slow this down, hold on a second, let's back it up here. I'm going to show you something. Alright, here we go. Watch. You see the smoke come out, and there was a little bit of smoke coming out here. That's called nitrate. Okay? That's going to blow back onto his face. It's going to go through the trigger, be on his hand here. And you see how he's holding that rifle? This guy's got his thumb on top of the stock. Oswald is human, and he's going to be just like these guys. He's going to have his finger pushing into this stock to hold it steady. His thumb's going to be either on the side or on top of it to hold it steady. He's probably using his thumb to push down onto this box here. You see? And it's a very difficult task to do this.
1 hit, 2 near misses.
So 1 hit and 2 near miss. Here's
A
another
weapons
guy.
engineer had the best score. Three hits in 5.2 seconds.
3 hits. Now,
Score, glaring omission.
I'm not saying that someone couldn't hit from that window, but Oswald wasn't that great of a shot. Let's see. Hold on. There's another one here. That's just a preview. Anyway, that's it. I'll keep seeing if I can find that full thing, because that's just a preview there. If anybody has the full one, I'd like to see it. I know I've seen it before. Also, just to let you know that the Russians did a full investigation of their own. The KGB, first they wanted to find out, make sure it wasn't one of their guys that did it or recruited Oswald or something like that, but they also wanted to see if it was possible. And they even got the same rifles and the same ranges, measurements and stuff, and found it impossible. I mean, to happen the way the Warren Commission said, and they came to the conclusion that there had to be others involved and other rifles involved, that it was impossible for Oswald to do what he did. Anyway, also another thing you probably don't know is that when Oswald was in Russia and Belarus, he'd applied for a hunting license and had a rifle. And so it was an interesting, I was reading through the KGB report on Oswald, and it's interesting, they had like 4 or 5 guys out in the woods hiding while Oswald was out there practice shooting with his rifle trying to hunt. And even though there were deer and geese and whatever out there clear and easy to shoot, Oswald never could bag anything. And they made these reports saying what a poor shot he was, that he couldn't even bag anything within like 20 yards with his rifle. And they were almost to the point they were going to take his rifle away because he was such a bad shot, they were afraid he might hurt himself. It says that in the KGB reports. Very interesting. I don't know if they're making that up just to make him look crazy, look bad. But even the Russians said that Oswald couldn't have fired those shots, and when he was in Russia, it was a horrible shot with his hunting rifle. So, there you go. And also remember that Oswald had been out of the Marines 4 years by the time he shot Kennedy. And again, to maintain, you've got to practice constantly, you know. And so Oswald would literally every other day or 3 times a week, you know, on weekends, would literally be spending Saturday and Sunday at the would have to stay at the shooting range to maintain his shooting ability for months on end. But he was only there, what, month and a half before he shot Kennedy, or supposedly shot Kennedy. So where was Oswald getting his skills to maintain his sharpshooter skills, supposedly, that he had? And also think about it, okay? The distance that he fired, supposedly at Walker, was from the woods right across the street. About a third of the distance that he had to fire from the Texas School Book Depository down onto the president. Okay? So think about that. Oswald was using the same rifle, firing from the woods across the street. We're talking 50, 60 feet. He's firing at the president at 100, 150, 160 feet. Okay? So Oswald is firing from across the street. And he can't even hit Walker in a clear window. He hits the windowsill. How is he going to hit the president in a moving car 3 times the distance? Think about that. Anyway, again, all you got to do is just look at Chief Curry. Even he says, I'm not able to put Oswald in the Texas School Book Depository 6th floor, firing that rifle, having that rifle in his hand, because we didn't have any evidence showing he was there. No fingerprints, no nitrates, nothing. And then he knows about the testimony of the other witnesses seeing Oswald in the 2nd and 1st floors. Anyway, that's another one. Sorry about the time there, but I'll try to keep it at 1 hour from now on. But that's another one gone. And we keep pushing down the road. But again, before I even get into most of this other information of witness testimony, that's going to get boring. I'm just showing you that it's impossible for Oswald to have been in that window firing that rifle. You know, I could be wrong, but the preponderance of evidence, you know, like I said, we're sitting there in that courtroom, that biased courtroom in the Warren Commission, but say Oswald's attorney comes running in and says, Mr. and Mrs. Juror, I mean, how many times do I have to say this? Oswald's fingerprints weren't found on the rifle. Oswald's fingerprints weren't found on the shell casings. Oswald's fingerprints weren't found on that clip that held the shells. It wasn't found on the stock. It wasn't found on the barrel. Oswald's fingerprints weren't found on the scope that he would have to adjust. Okay? No nitrates from the rifle bullets exploding were found on Oswald's face or hands, or his shirt, or his shoes, or not shoes, but with his hair. So how can Oswald fire that rifle if his fingerprints aren't on the rifle and there's no nitrates from the rifle from him firing it? Because you saw the slowdown, that explosion, and that kickback, it goes back in people's faces. Again, Mr. Juror, you know, this is my client's life is in your hand. If it was you there, wouldn't you be screaming your innocence? I was on the first floor or the second floor drinking Coke. This is exactly what Oswald did. Anyway. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.